Okay, it's time to break out a TV dinner old high school lunch classic, the Salisbury Steak. It is absolutely delicious and crazy easy to make. It is the perfect weeknight meal. So every time I hear the word Salisbury steak, I always think of this.
Serve some reheated Salisbury steak with a little slice of love.
That's Lunch Ladyland by Adam Sandler. I remember hearing that when I was a kid, not even knowing what Salisbury steak is. I'm not kidding. It is like the chop steak, but a step above because there's more stuff in the ground meat, where a chop steak is literally just a hamburger with a gravy. This is loaded up, super easy, dang crazy tasty. We need to knock out a little prep though. Sound good? Let's cook.
We're going to start off by prepping up some button domestic mushrooms. You could for sure use cremini, baby bellas, even any wild mushroom, shiitake, oyster, all are good in this recipe if you want to take it to that next level. But to make sure it's free of any dirt or unwanted sticks or anything, just use a damp paper towel and wipe off any of that stuff. And now, of course, to slice it up, what I like to do is slice off the end really quick and then kind of roll it over. See how it stays kind of flat like this? It doesn't rock back and forth. That's perfect. That's what I like to do. Slice it thin and do this to all the mushrooms and then simply set it to the side in a bowl. And a little bit more prep here. We are going to small dice up a yellow onion. You could use a white onion, a sweet onion, but I wouldn't recommend using a red onion. After you've sliced off the end, slice it in half, remove that outer peel, small dice this as best you can because we need to put it right into the ground meat. We don't need huge chunks here. And then what we want to do is finally mince up a few cloves of garlic. We're going to use it in the ground meat and the sauce as well, so do a few extra. You know me. I'm all about that garlic press these days, my friends. And now for the ground meat. I've got all ground sirloin here, but believe it or not, classically, a Salisbury steak is 50% ground chuck, 25% ground sirloin, and 25% ground pork, which is exactly what I just put into this bowl.
Really quick, no worries if you do not have ground pork. Do not stress out. If you only have ground beef, even if it's just sirloin or chuck, please use it. Don't go to the store. It's going to be just fine. Here's what we do now.
We've got a few things to add to this, beginning with the small diced onions and then followed up with some of the garlic that we finely minced. I only used about half. The other half, again, is going in the sauce. The next thing we're going to do is add in a few whole eggs and then 1 egg yolk. And then the next thing we're going to add in is some breadcrumbs. This could be homemade. You could use panko. You can even use Italian seasoned breadcrumbs that you can get from the store. This part is up to you. And then for some delicious salts, I've got a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, some salt, and of course, some black pepper. Then using a spoon, clean hands or hands with gloves, which is obviously what I'm doing here, mix all of these ingredients until they are completely combined. And now it's time to form patties. You'll probably get in between 6 and 8 out of this mixture and maybe measure them out about 8 to 10 ounces. They should be nice, hearty Salisbury steaks. So compress them down until they are about this size. The next thing we're going to do is just set them to the side on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper. Sure, you could use a platter or a plate. And you know how sometimes burgers kind of bump up in the middle when cooking them? Using your thumb, just press down a little bit in the center. This will make sure it stays nice and flat. You don't have meatballs instead of Salisbury steaks. Now what we're doing is going over to a very large shallow rondeau pot over medium heat. We're going to add in a bit of oil, then add in our Salisbury steaks. We're going to have to cook this in batches. My pan is simply not big enough to take all of them, and I'm guessing yours isn't either. But we're going to cook them for about 4 to 5 minutes per side. We want to get them nice and golden brown. Pull as much flavor from this as you possibly can. Once they are done cooking, we're simply going to remove them, set them to the side, again on a platter, a plate, sheet tray lined with parchment paper, totally up to you. Let's go back over to that rondeau pot and remember all of those mushrooms we sliced up. Yep, we are going to add them right to the oil and rendered beef fat that's in the pan. Let this cook come about every 3 to 4 minutes, give it a quick stir, but let it take the time to caramelize and brown up, and that can only be had by letting it sit on that hot pan and not stirring it too much. After about 10 minutes or so, we are going to come back to the pan. We're going to scoot all of those mushrooms forward. This is very similar to a lot of what I do, especially with the chicken marsala recipe, because we're going to cook some garlic in the other side of the pan where there is nothing. So remember all those garlic cloves I asked you to finely mince up? We're going to use the other half. Add them in there with a little bit of unsalted butter. This is maybe going to take 30 to 45 seconds to cook. Remember, once you smell garlic, it's done. Now move all of the ingredients together, mix it in very well until it is completely combined. And at this point, we want the gravy to be a little bit of a thick gravy, so we do need to make a quick, easy roux. So sprinkle in some all-purpose flour. And then using that same spoon, mix it together until the flour is completely incorporated into the vegetables. Maybe cook it for an extra 1 to 2 minutes. This is perfect. Now we're going to pour in some beef stock. I've got a fantastic recipe for you. If you only have chicken or just beef or a combination of both, that would work, but beef stock is very classic in this recipe. It should thicken up pretty quick, especially if you turn the heat up a little bit to high, just like this. And then what we want to do at this point is season it well with salt and black pepper. After maybe a total of 10 minutes from adding in the beef stock to now, what we want to do is add those Salisbury steaks right back to the gravy. This is going to sort of help heat them up, just in case they got cold while sitting to the side, or just in case you didn't cook them all the way through. We're getting close.
Yes, you can even apply fundamental basics to simple foods like Salisbury steak. We are going to plate this up a few different ways. I'm going to show you how. Here we go.
So you can absolutely serve these very simply in the pan that we cook them in. My parents used to do this all the time. Just put a towel on the kitchen table, and whatever was cooking in the pan was going right on there. Garnish with a little bit of fresh chopped parsley would be absolutely classic to do here. And then the other way to do it, singular, is with some mashed potatoes. And I've got an insanely delicious recipe for you if you want to take that route. Then add your delicious Salisbury steak. We're going to hit it with just a little bit more mushroom gravy on top, and then finally add some minced garlic at the end. And you've got an amazing Salisbury steak. No TV dinner, no lunch, lady, my friends. If you love this recipe, definitely like and share it, and definitely check out this recipe right here. I made it for you. Let's get in this.